Yo, hoop fans, your sideline sage, Tips and Upstreams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. All right, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. The first prediction for today is for the game between Charlotte Hornets and Orlando Magic. As the Charlotte Hornets prepare to take on the Orlando Magic at the Kia Center, the atmosphere is charged with anticipation for this divisional clash. The Hornets, with a less than stellar 17-51 record and lagging in the spread at 27-41, enter the fray as underdogs against the Magic, who boast a commendable 40-28 record and a solid 45-23 against the spread. The Magic have taken the lead in the series this season with a 2-0 advantage, clearly demonstrating their edge on the hardwood. The Hornets are in a tough spot, struggling to hit their stride, as seen in their recent games. Even with a valiant effort against the Grizzlies, their losses to the Suns and 76ers have laid bare their weak spots. Averaging 106.8 points with a shooting accuracy of 45.7% and allowing 116.7 points on 49.1% shooting from their opponents, the stats reveal the steep challenge they face. While Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller have had their moments of brilliance, maintaining consistency is a struggle. Their 35.3% accuracy from the three-point line and 78.2% from the free throw line are concerning, especially when up against a formidable home team like the Magic. Conversely, the Magic are standing strong. Their recent victories over the Nets and Raptors, averaging 110.7 points on 47.6% shooting efficiency and a defensive record that restricts opponents to an average of 109 points, are testament to their prowess. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner have been key to their success, with the team also shining in three-point, 35.3%, and free throw, 75.4% shooting. Their ability to limit the opposition to 35.7% from the perimeter and dominate the boards underscores their comprehensive strength in attack and defense. Looking at the face-offs at the Kia Center and considering the Hornets' poor showings on the road against Eastern Conference teams, the indicators are not in their favor. Moreover, the Magic's stellar home record against teams below 500 adds to the Hornets' challenges. Stat-wise, the Magic lead in offensive efficiency and defensive prowess, particularly in controlling the game's tempo and the rebound game. The Hornets' difficulties in covering spreads, especially as underdogs with a rest advantage, and their underperformance in consecutive games present a bleak outlook. Given the Magic's prowess in covering the spread in recent matchups and their superior offensive and defensive stats, they're set to continue their winning streak against the Hornets. The Magic's mix of youthful energy and seasoned strategy, combined with the advantage of playing at home, suggests they will comfortably beat the 12.5-point spread. Moreover, considering the scoring tendencies of both teams and their defensive capabilities, it's reasonable to anticipate a total score that exceeds the 203.5-point margin, reflecting their past performances and scoring averages. In essence, the Orlando Magic's solid form, home advantage, and statistical edge make them the clear choice to triumph and beat the spread against the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets' road woes and inconsistency in critical aspects further skew the odds in favor of the Magic, who have consistently outperformed teams with losing records. My prediction leans towards the Orlando Magic not only winning, but also covering the 12.5-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Houston Rockets and Washington Wizards. As the Houston Rockets prepare to face off against the Washington Wizards in an epic interconference showdown at Capital One Arena, the air is electric with anticipation. The Rockets are blazing a trail with a hot 5-game win streak, showing off their resilience and scoring power, particularly in their recent impressive win over Cleveland, which highlighted their deep bench and offensive skills. Meanwhile, the Wizards seem to have hit a rough patch, reeling from a tough loss to Boston, further complicating their journey in the Eastern Conference. Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet are at the forefront of the Rockets' charge, steering the team forward even as they miss key players like Alperen Sengun and Cam Whitmore due to injuries. Yet, they've kept their scoring game strong. Their standout victory, a 135-119 drubbing of the Wizards earlier in the season, showcases a team hitting its stride at the perfect time. With their knack for maximizing turnovers and dominating the boards, the Rockets are a force to be reckoned with. On the other side, the Wizards are navigating through turbulent waters, hindered by injuries to vital players like Denny Avdija and Marvin Bagley. Their defense seems to be leaking points, and their rebounding isn't helping their cause, highlighting the uphill battle they face in achieving consistency. Looking at the stats, the Rockets' rebounding superiority and recent scoring spree might tip the scales in their favor. However, the Wizards' home court advantage and the potential for their stars to shine can't be discounted. With the Rockets' playoff ambitions fueling their drive, they edge out as the favorites in this clash. Considering historical matchups and this season's trends, the Rockets excel against teams with weaker defenses, a pattern that doesn't bode well for the Wizards, who struggle against teams from the West. The Rockets' track record in covering spreads, especially in situations similar to this one, gives them an added advantage. An analysis of spread performance indicates the Rockets' upward trajectory and the Wizards' struggle to keep pace, highlighting a clear advantage for Houston. The Rockets' road resilience, their strategic game management, and sharpshooting are key to this battle. Considering everything, from the Rockets' momentum to the Wizards' defensive issues and the history between these teams, Houston is poised not only to clinch the win, but also to beat the spread. Their adeptness at leveraging matchups should propel them to victory in this face-off. With the Rockets favored by a 7.5-point spread, and the game dynamics in focus, they're likely to triumph and cover, thanks to their form and the Wizards' predicaments. Given the total points set at 229.5, the game might lean towards fewer points, factoring in Washington's offensive struggles and Houston's defensive steps up. The wise move is to back the Houston Rockets to extend their win streak and cover the spread against the Wizards. I'm betting on the Houston Rockets to come out on top and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between New Orleans Pelicans and Brooklyn Nets. Tonight's showdown at the Barclays Center is the stage for a classic drama of rising stars versus underdogs as the New Orleans Pelicans, on a fiery 6-win streak out of their last 7 games, are set to face the Brooklyn Nets, who are currently navigating through a rough patch. The Pelicans, boasting an impressive 41-26 record, are not just looking for another win. They're aiming to assert their dominance in the fierce battle of the Western Conference, eyeing the 5th seed with determination. The Brooklyn Nets, on the other hand, are caught in a cycle of unpredictability. Sporting a 26-42 record, their aspirations for the playoffs are fading fast. Even with Cam Thomas putting up a brave fight, the team's overall performance has been underwhelming, underscoring their struggle to find rhythm and unity on the floor. A glance at the numbers highlights the Pelicans' superiority, averaging 116.1 points with a 48.8% shooting efficiency, eclipsing the Nets' 111.7 points at a 45.8% success rate. Defensively, the narrative doesn't change, with the Pelicans conceding fewer points and boasting a tighter defensive game. Their edgy in rebounding and three-point precision further tips the scales in their favor. Reflecting on past confrontations, the Pelicans have had the upper hand, including a dominant 27-point victory over the Nets this season. This clash underscored the Pelicans' scoring depth and exposed the Nets' frailties. Zion Williamson has been pivotal in the Pelicans' ascent, with his remarkable transformation and explosive performance fueling the team's success. His dynamic synergy with teammates like Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum, and Trey Murphy III has elevated the team's play. Conversely, the Nets are facing challenges both on and off the court. Despite Dennis Schroeder's leadership and Cam Thomas's scoring flurries, the team's morale is tested. Coaching changes and strategic shifts, including Cam Johnson's altered role, reflect a team in search of direction. Considering the Pelicans' momentum, scoring balance, and defensive strength, and the Nets' erratic play and defensive shortcomings, the Pelicans are expected not just to win, but also to beat the spread. The 7.5-point advantage seems achievable for the Pelicans, given their form and the Nets' trials. Additionally, the over-under line for total points is set at 217. With both teams' offensive prowess, particularly the Pelicans' scoring spree and the Nets' defensive hurdles, a high-scoring game exceeding 217 points appears likely. In essence, the New Orleans Pelicans are anticipated to extend their winning streak, leveraging the Brooklyn Nets' weaknesses to clinch a victory and surpass the spread. With the offensive strategies of both teams and taking defensive statistics into account, the match is expected to exceed the total points line. Led by a rejuvenated Zion Williamson and backed by strategic depth and scoring talent, the Pelicans are poised to outmatch the Nets. My forecast is a victory for the New Orleans Pelicans, overcoming the spread with a strong inclination for the total points to go over 217. The next prediction for today is for the game between Dallas Mavericks and San Antonio Spurs. As the Dallas Mavericks swagger into the Frostbank Center for a showdown with the San Antonio Spurs, we're looking at a tale of two cities on the hardwood. The Mavericks, sitting pretty at 7th in the Western Conference with a solid 39-29 record, have been running the table in their season series against the Spurs, bagging wins in all three matchups. Meanwhile, the Spurs are knee-deep in a rebuild, anchored at the conference's bottom with a 15-53 record. The Mavs march into this battle riding high on confidence, fueled by recent triumphs against top-tier teams. Their offense is a force to be reckoned with, pouring in 118.8 points per game and connecting on 48.2% of their shots. The dynamic duo of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving has been leading this charge, with their sharp shooting from deep hitting 37%, being a cornerstone of their strategy, yet their defensive end, leaking 117.5 points per game, raises eyebrows and questions about their clamped-down capabilities. On the other end, the Spurs, despite their rebuild blues, have had their moments of glory, like their shock win over the Nets. They've been putting up 112.4 points per game on 46.3% shooting, with Victor Wembanyama and Devin Vassell at the helm, but their defensive lapses, conceding 119.8 points on 49.1% shooting, loom large over their prospects. Still, their grit, especially on their home turf, shouldn't be written off. Peeling back another layer of this matchup, the absence of back-to-back games for both squads hints at fresher legs and crisper execution. Historically, the Spurs have thrived on the Frostbank Center's energy, a factor that might tip the scales in this encounter. Analyzing their face-offs in San Antonio paints a complex picture. Despite the Mavericks' superior stats, the Spurs' home court spirit has often thrown a wrench in the works for visitors. While Dallas might dominate the stat sheet, the unpredictable magic of NBA games and the edge of playing at home often blur the lines. Reflecting on the last 5 duels in San Antonio, the Spurs have stepped up, posing a tougher challenge to the Mavericks than the season's record might hint. The youthful vigor of the Spurs, spearheaded by Wembanyama, gives them a shot at derailing Dallas, especially if they can block shots and fire up their offense from the jump. Even with the Mavericks' scoring prowess, the Spurs' latest efforts, coupled with their home advantage, suggest they could beat the 9-point spread. Dallas may be the favorites, but the Spurs, buoyed by their latest win and rising stars, are primed to keep things tighter than expected. San Antonio's resolve, along with the Mavericks' defensive gaps, points to a scenario where the Spurs beat the spread, surprising many. In sum, the Mavericks bring a potent offense to the table, but the Spurs, energized by the Frostbank Center and their emerging talents, are set to deliver a performance that defies expectations. It's shaping up to be a closer battle than most anticipate, with the Spurs likely to beat the 9-point spread in a testament to their resilience and promise. I'm pegging the Spurs to add a twist to this tale, covering the 9-point spread and keeping the total score under 234 in what's poised to be a riveting clash. The last prediction for today is for the game between Denver Nuggets and Minnesota Timberwolves. In the electric atmosphere of the NBA, the Denver Nuggets are gearing up to face the Minnesota Timberwolves at Minneapolis's Target Center, adding another exciting episode to their rivalry. This showdown grabs the spotlight as both teams are battling closely in the Western Conference standings, with the Nuggets slightly leading at 47-21 against the Timberwolves 46-21. Despite stumbling in a recent match against the Dallas Mavericks, ending their 5-game win streak with a close defeat, the Nuggets have showcased their strength. Their comeback attempt from a 13-point lag underscored their grit, powered by an offensive efficiency that's hard to match, hitting the net at 49.6% and shining from the three-point line at 37%. Nikola Jokic, with his MVP-worthy average of 25.9 points and 12.2 rebounds, along with Jamal Murray's 20.9 points per game, are the linchpins of the Nuggets' attack. The Timberwolves, on the flip side, have flexed their defensive muscles, leading the league in holding opponents to 106.6 points per game and restricting their shooting to 44.7%. Anthony Edwards stands out with 26.5 points per game, emerging as the offensive spearhead in Karl Anthony Towns' absence. Their last encounter at the Target Center saw the Timberwolves dominating with a 110-89 victory. Given the Nuggets' away record of 20-15 and the Timberwolves' solid home performance of 23-8, we're set for an intensely competitive match. Injury updates indicate both teams are not at their full might, with notable absences on each side that might influence the game's strategy and outcome. Considering the Nuggets' offensive skill set and efficiency against the Timberwolves' defensive prowess and home advantage, this game is shaping up to be a closely contested battle. Yet, the Nuggets' scoring edge, led by Jokic and Murray, could tip the balance, especially with critical players missing from the Timberwolves lineup. Anticipate a tight game, with the Nuggets expected to edge out a victory, surpassing the 5.5-point spread in a clash that promises to light up the scoreboard beyond the anticipated 212.5 points, making it a high-scoring spectacle. My money's on the Denver Nuggets to clinch the win and cover the spread.